after we last left you, which was hot on the pursuit of a bunch of alarm calls that we were hearing. First we were hearing impala giving alarm call, then we were hearing squirrels giving alarm call, and we bashed into a little group of dwarf mongoose, only to find a harrier hawk sitting in the branches, probably scaring the squirrel. We left you then, and then what Scott and I did was we searched around the area for some tracks, and we bumped into some female leopard tracks. They were very fresh on the road. I have no doubt that it was laid down by the same animal that was making the impala nervous and making the squirrel give the alarm call. What Scott and I have done is we've started to track along where she was walking. So we've come directly south from where she was. Her tracks were heading south. She headed south into the middle of a block. We're standing in the middle of the block over here now. And we're walking these game trails. Leopard are animals of habit, but they're also very secretive. And they will walk trails definitely where they can. And we're crossing from game trail to game trail, looking for her tracks, stopping often and listening to the bush. And that's where we are now. You've caught us in a quiet period. We're not crashing through the bush on our feet. We are stopping. We're in a little glade in this forest. And I decided that this would be a good time to show you what I mean by little points of interest and little out of it, basically searching for food. Elephants have a very inefficient digestive system, and that's exactly what's happened here. Is a dung beetle has smelt this from far away, come in, landed on the dung. They were the ones responsible for flattening out essentially what looks like this, a dung ball, into this. And what they did is some dung beetles roll a ball and roll it away. Other dung beetles bury their ball underneath the dung. And that's what's happened right here. Is here a dung beetle has buried a ball with an egg in. What's happened then is that egg has turned into a larvae, a baby dung beetle, has eaten that dung ball and has come out. So this is the burrow of a giant dung beetle, a flattened giant dung beetle to be honest, to be more precise. And he's dug himself out of his hole. This is his burrow, and he's living here now. He'll be scurrying around here now. Either he's in his burrow, they're predominantly nocturnal, or he may be around here somewhere looking for more dung. But not where I'm sitting at the moment, but definitely the hole of a dung beetle. Now what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be carrying on in a southerly direction along where these tracks were heading, and we're going to see if we can bump into and find this female leopard for you. I have no doubt that we're hot on the trail of this leopard. So, yes. Generally, it's very difficult to look for tracks where there isn't a sandy substrate. But you're quite lucky that in the bush you have these connected series of open sandy patches that are connected by animal paths. And leopard being leopard, they don't normally just walk through the bush. They will, of course, but they like to use paths. And so what Scott and I are trying to do is walk on as many paths, crisscrossing the area where we last saw her tracks going to see if we can pick up the telltale sign of a footprint on a game path. It sounds ludicrous. It sounds, how are you going to find one footprint or one toe print with all this grass around you? But let me tell you, with enough searching, you absolutely do. Obviously, we're looking and we're listening as well. And we're listening for squirrels and we're listening for animals giving their alarm calls. They help us to pinpoint exactly where that animal might be. But to give an example of a sandy patch, I'm just going to ask. So here we have a sandy patch. And this is on a game path, and basically it doesn't look like much, but this will hold 1 or 2 leopard tracks, and this one doesn't have any leopard tracks on it at the moment, but and that's what we're aiming at. As Scott and I are walking through the bush, I'm busy scanning every open patch I can and trying to pick out the odd print. Now I'll give you an example of how easy it is to pick up a print. As you can see, there's nothing here now, but if I were to all of a sudden place my hands in there, you can absolutely see that it makes a very clear print. Looks almost like the 4 toes of a male leopard. And that's what we'd be looking for, as a telltale sign like that. Just like that in the sand. So we're going to carry on walking. You're welcome to join us. We're going to be making our way south, seeing if we can hear or see anything. Yes. You definitely find some animals are more skittish towards people on foot than others. I have noticed impala will give alarm calls at humans in foot, and kudu will give alarm calls at humans on foot, but really only in areas where these animals get hunted by people. Here at Djuma, in the Sabi Sands, adjacent to the Kruger National Park, we don't hunt animals on foot. We don't hunt them at all, in actual fact. And for that reason, the animals don't see us as a threat. We become part of the natural world, and they don't really react negatively to us. So it's a bit of a twofold answer there. Yes, in some areas they will react to people where people hunt them. In areas like this, not really. They run away from you. They might give the odd bark, but never like their reaction to a leopard or a lion, for instance. This wonderful old relic is one of the hardest trees that we find out here. It's a zebra wood, and it gets its name from the fact that the wood itself is striped like a zebra. I'm going to try and show you an example of this. There you can see the wonderful black and white countless fires, and not living anymore, dead, but still standing. Yeah. Let's carry on. So I've just heard from Tara and FC that Mark has got something special for you, and while Scott and I carry on with looking through this bush for the female leopard that we're searching for, we're going to pass you through to Mark and enjoy the sight.
Well, welcome back to our drive, everybody, and a very exciting thing that I can show you, and thanks to Steph for cueing me in on the goings on up here, something that we probably would have missed if we hadn't known about it. We're on our Buffelshoek boundary, just up Umbu. There's evidently a kill up there. Lying on the ground underneath the tree are 2 hyenas just waiting for their chance at any scraps that might be falling, and also, I suppose, to terrorize the cats a little bit. And here in the foreground, in his usual moody self, is a very special leopard that we know is Djuma. So I don't know who it is who's in the tree. And that is going to be a little bit of a mystery this afternoon, to try and get an idea of who that could be, because it could be his brother, it could be his father, it could be his mother. it's not likely going to be another unrelated leopard. But having said that, this is nature. There are no rules out here. There is no way of knowing whether an unknown leopard could be in the same place. The fact is, he seems to be panting. I haven't had a chance to see out is to be here and to watch what might transpire. Unfortunately for us, however, we're on our northern boundary, so where this leopard are lying and where the gardenia tree is just off of our boundary, and sadly is not accessible to us. So the best we can do about the leopard in the tree is sitting here on the boundary and trying to zoom in as best as we can. But Djuma sitting here close to the boundary, at least we can. That is his nature. He hasn't calmed down at all. It's taken him a long time, or it will take him a long time, I guess. But generally, he's just not a happy cat when the vehicles get too close to him. Fortunately, he's not snarling at us. I have kept my distance. And finally, this storm has moved over the western sky. Sadly, we've lost this beautiful leopard light that we had a few minutes ago, because when the sun was shining with this dark cloud behind us, it does produce an incredible light for photography and for filming. But this cloud has now moved over the sun. In fact, the tail end of the storm looks like it might be swinging over Djuma. There's a very good chance that maybe the tail end will swing over us. And haven't heard much more in the way of thunder. But it is darkening fairly quickly. But this is super exciting, trying to get some idea of who the other cat could be, and also how the two are behaving towards each other. I'm just going to speak to one of the landowners shortly. Excuse me for chatting over the mic. Hello, Johan. Very good, and you? Who's that in the tree?
Saying that's quarantine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the boys are together.
So my lions, my leopard, sorry.
Yeah. So this is brother. So the brothers are together again.
Yeah.
What's good news?
Yeah.
Would be interesting to know how they're behaving towards each other.
Yes.
But I would imagine with a kill in the tree, there's a little bit of.
Yes. We were just talking about that. I'm sure that quarantine will not just allow you
No. But it's possible that he'll finish, come down, and let him go up afterwards. Time was only a few nights ago here at Gowrie Dam, but they weren't really. They one was following the other more than anything else, and there wasn't any major effort for contact.
Okay.
But interesting, 2.5 years old, they're in the same place. What do you think about this blackness behind me? I think it's gonna wash.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Not him.
He was going with his eyes.
Yeah. I was like,
No, I think, yeah, I said we're going to get wet this afternoon, so let's see.
be nice.
Yeah.
I'm hot. There was a nyoni in the dam.
Okay.
So, pardon for that banter with Johan. Johan is one of the landowners at Buffelshoek, and it's nice to maintain relations, especially he's got this family with them, and really one of the great people of this northern part of the Sabi Sand, one of the landowners. And nice to chat because we don't get to see them very often. They come down, I suppose, mostly. Go ahead, Tex. Sorry, go again. No, it's fine there, Tex. And nice to just share some information. So he's telling me that he thinks it's quarantine that's up the tree, which is very interesting because just recently we managed to see the two together. They haven't been seen on camera together since we started our drives in. We've seen Karula fairly close to both of them but not making contact, and towards each other. It's quite clear that he isn't making any attempt at going to the tree, but there are other reasons for that. One of the other reasons for that is also because there are hyena there. He's probably trying to avoid the hyena. Oh, hyena moving. I think it's mostly because of the vehicle that was there though. Hyena hanging around because they're hoping for some scraps to fall. It is not a very good tree to have a kill. It's a gardenia. It's got very tight branches. It's probably very tight in there. It can't be very comfortable for the leopards in the tree when they're trying to feed. So it's a probably an emergency tree. Instead of finding a tree to hoist a kill that is a convenient tree where feeding and where there's space to be able to maneuver, it's possible that when the kill was made that it was the closest tree because hyena were close by and they had no choice but to take it into the nearest tree, which turned out to be that lovely big gardenia. Interestingly, from what I heard from Johan, is that it is an impala ram, and it's something that we find quite a lot coming into the impala rutting season. The rams get so preoccupied with the rut that they don't notice the danger so easily. Impala running by, they don't even have to stalk and go into the hunt. Just somehow the impala just out to be easy prey. is coming in wanting to know if the hyenas know that Kunyuma's on the ground near them. They probably do. I would imagine that they do. I can't answer that. They haven't glanced at him. He has full view of them. His ears are a little bit flat, showing a little bit of displeasure. It's probably a little bit of both the vehicles and the fact that the hyena around. He's not going to approach them. There is no need for them to even bother to come here, because they are hoping to get scraps from the kill. There's no need for them to chase him. It's wasted energy. It's opening up the chances for a confrontation, and a confrontation leads to injury, and injury leads to complications in hunting and feeding and all those sorts of things. So unless it's sort of a life and death thing, there's not really going to be much of a confrontation. I'm going to monitor it as much far enough away, and it's far more important for the hyena to be waiting under the tree. If the leopard is feeding, there's a very good chance that something is going to fall out of the tree, a piece of meat or a piece of skin or a bone or a leg or something. Wants to know do we know whose kill this is? No, Gail, there's absolutely no way of knowing whose kill this is. This was found this afternoon already, that the kill had been made. I wouldn't even begin to speculate. I do know that there's a very good chance that I drove right past them this morning, and we came up Buffels of Cut Line and we turned down on Vugu Road. I even stopped a little bit further up on Buffels of Cut Line because I thought I saw an elephant, and it turned out to be a log that looked like an elephant at the dam. And because it wasn't really visible from the road and I couldn't drive in there, I noticed that it was a log, and then we moved on. And strangely enough, I would have been looking just to the left of to what is now the other side of this gardenia that we're looking at right now, which is just below the dam wall of Tambuti Dam. And maybe because I was concentrating on that log, I didn't look at the tree, but I think even from that angle there's a wattle on the one side of it and a buffalo thorn. I wouldn't have seen it. But also it just didn't work out that I saw any leopards here. It was one of those things. And since nobody found it, and it was only found this afternoon in the current state, with one leopard on the ground, one leopard in the tree, and two hyenas there's absolutely no way of knowing what transpired. There's no way of knowing who did what, and whether they've even acknowledged each other, whether one has fed and the other one hasn't. It's not something, there are no forensics that can tell those stories. Good question from Blair in Canada, wanting on Arathusa, and it had been up there for 2 or 3 days, and then when we went back there, the cub had managed to get out of the tree, but the hyena was still there. Fortunately for Quarantine Male, if that is indeed him in the tree, this gardenia, as you can see, is right against the dam wall. We could see the hyena when they moved off. They were sort of moving up on that slope, which is actually the earthen wall overgrown with grasses that forms Tambuti Dam. We don't ever get to see Tambuti Dam because it is on Buffelshoek. And he could quite easily get onto the dam wall from that tree above those hyenas, and he could be over that dam wall and away far quicker than they would be able to get up and react to it. I don't know whether leopards would intentionally drop items to sort of preoccupy the hyenas so that they can get away. It's possible. I wouldn't put it past them. They are cats after all. Now, here's another very, very good question from Grace in Dallas. Grace wants to know if the hyenas would, if it would be worth their while waiting for so long. Would they get any food waiting for so long? Probably not worthwhile in terms of the amount that they're likely to get. Grace, you know, there's opportunism and there's patience, and even if it's a little scrap here and there's nothing better for a hyena to do on an afternoon like this. It's been quite hot. They could be lying in the mud without a leopard in a tree above them and without the possibility of anything falling out of the tree, and then come nightfall they might have other opportunities. So yes, I suppose from a point of view they might get a scrap. It's certainly not going to do them any good energy-wise or sustenance-wise. It's merely scraps, and it's, I suppose, to a large extent, it's for them their presence. It's their presence that they want to show, that their determination and their presence to keep the leopards on their toes. Not going to be that much out of it. There is always the possibility, and we've seen it, especially with young and inexperienced leopards. And I'm not saying that they are that inexperienced. I mean, they are 2.5 years old now. And hyena just have this unfailing ability to be able to pick up a carcass, no big, pick it up and run with it. They have that physiology, that the body, the design of the longer front legs, the short back legs, very strong neck muscles and very heavy shoulders to be able to lift something up off of the ground, very strong jaws to hold it and to be able to run with it. And even if it's most of the remains of an impala, and even if it is a big impala ram, a hyena is big enough to actually pick it up and run away with it. So if something were to fall, like a very large portion of the carcass, those hyenas will be able to pick it up and run away with it, that the leopard would never even think about going for it, would even think about trying to get it back. They would relinquish the carcass and then just carry on. I'm going to need to be moving away so that other vehicles can view this. I'm not going to go very far. I want to go back up to quarantine for you because I want to show you something there before we close down this evening. And so we're going to cross over to Stefan, and we're going to
Well, welcome back to myself and Scott here on our bush sunset here at Djuma Private Game Reserve. I hear you've been having a superb sighting with Mark. 2 leopard in the same area, 2 brothers, when we were just talking last night at the fireside chat, how we haven't seen them interacting with one another, and now all of a sudden you get to see it. Providence, methinks. Now, we've been given a question from Kerry in Costa Rica. What would happen if we were to bump into, let you know that they're either by jumping up or giving you a soft growl? It's nothing more than just them letting you know will look at you, they might give you a growl, and then the best thing to do is just to create a bit of distance. You take a bit of a step back. But generally, after you reach a certain distance, they will calm right back down again, as do I, calm right back down again, and then you can carry on. You either call in a vehicle to have a look, or you leave the area, you walk around them, whatever you need to do. So it's not as dangerous as what everybody thinks. It can get dangerous, make no mistake. It is and it can be a life-threatening situation, but handled correctly and with due respect given to both sides, I have many thousands of encounters with dangerous game over the years, and touch wood, find a piece of wood to touch, there we go, touch wood. We've never had I've never had to shoot an animal in defense of my clients' lives, and I've never been obviously attacked by anything which has had any serious intent to do me massive harm. So what we similar to what we're doing at the moment, following up on tracks on foot. And we're just doing what's generally accepted here. Is we walk around, we find some tracks, we listen to the bush is telling us, basically it's just feeding us information the whole time. And yes, we will help our colleagues to come and have a look. Absolutely. So we'll call in who we can, when we can, and if we can. So thank you. I hope that answers your question. Right now it's getting dark. As you can see, the clouds are rolling in. The thunder is boiling up around us. Myself and Scott need to get back to the camp. So what we're doing is I'm going to be walking back to the camp now, Scott. We're going to be leaving you for this evening. Thank you very, very much for joining us on this debut walk, and we've really, really enjoyed showing you what we've showed you this year, or this today. Just to very fresh. We're right on her trail. We lost her, unfortunately. We lost some light. We'll pick up her trail again tomorrow, I'm sure. And
most fantastic thing has just happened. As you can see, coming straight for us is a wild dog, and there are more on Buffels of Cutline. She has no idea that they are leopard and hyena. She's almost running straight down towards the other dogs are on Buffels of Cutline. They can probably pick up some sign of the fact that there is something going on here. They're probably picking up the scent of it, because so she's waiting for the rest of the pack. Some of them are starting to come in now. I don't know which pack this is yet. And here comes the rest of the pack. and they're making their way right down to where Djuma is lying. As you can see, we're on the top of a little bit of a ridge here, and down in the bottom of this dip is where Djuma is. Some of the other dogs are actually running off of the bush, off of the road, through the bush. They're going to run down towards the dam.
Can we get on the road? This angle is not...
No, I know, but there are other vehicles, so I can't get straight onto the road because I'm going to block the view of other vehicles, unfortunately, so we just have to live with the angle for a second. There is almost chaos going on here because we've got two sightings merging. We've got a bunch of vehicles with the leopard sighting, we've got a bunch of vehicles with the wild dog sighting. The wild dog are imminently going to see a leopard, and there's going to be something that is going to change the dynamics of this afternoon. It's getting very dark, there's a storm brewing, it's sort of one of those, it's classic. It's sad I'm going on leave tomorrow, so I'm not going to be here for a bit, but I know that Brent and Scotty and Steph and Peter and Hayden are going to have a pretty good time if all these animals are around right now. That front dog is now almost in line with Djuma, if he hasn't climbed a tree yet. Unfortunately, we kind of sandwiched. I think the one dog in front there has seen the cat. Just looking at the positioning of the ears, definitely interest going on all of a sudden. So. One of the dogs is barking now. Just seen the leopard. Suddenly there's something going on. One of the dogs really taking off at a sprint, having seen, no doubt seen the leopard. Leopard, I can see Djuma from here through that guarri bush. He's not really doing anything just yet. I'm going to have to stop here. Obviously a really strange circumstance with wild dog coming into hyena and leopard sighting like this. Okay, straight through a little gap, almost down this mitre drain. Maybe a little bit forward for you. There. A hyena I can hear. Unfortunately I can't go there, but the hyena and the wild dog are having a fight. Right here in front of me. The wild dog are taking on this hyena. Djuma's taken off. Hyena's taken off. Wild dog have just treed Djuma. Fortunately he managed to get into a tree. They're all on top of him, under the not on top of him, they're just all underneath the tree. Fortunately he managed to, with this commotion of the hyena being attacked by the wild dog, he decided to take the best course of action. He's climbed into a bush willow. It's pandemonium. It's the dogs make their own hunt somewhere. How many were there? I don't know. It was just so exciting I didn't even think to count. Maybe 5 dogs. They're back at the tree where Djuma has climbed. One dog is actually trying to jump up to reach Djuma because there's a slope that's got to try and get a view of this if we can. He's way too high for them to reach. I mean, it's just The dog's now running away from the tree. He's in this tree. He's sort of way up there. Or is it there? There you can see him now. Just his tail. So glad he's safe. I'm glad can you quarantine. He seems to be safe in the gardenia. He's not in a very comfortable tree, but he's safe. I think that's the main thing. Pardon?
I think they're treating the other one. We good? We good?
So you can see how they're flaring their tails in excitement and aggression. I can see shadows in that gardenia. Or is it it's a gardenia? Next to a tambuti. Gardenia is the smaller one. The tambuti is the bigger one. Absolutely amazing. Those dogs are now coming back towards it. I think they're after the other hyena. Yep, they're after the other hyena. Just inside the bush. There's a road. Unfortunately, I can't go down the road, but we might be able to see something down this road. It's not really a road, it's just a mitred drain. It's a phenomenally exciting moment when there is so much happening and there just simply isn't enough, or rather there aren't enough cameras and cameramen on the back to be able to follow everything. But it is, the compounding factor is that this cloud is coming in. It's getting very, very dark. So we're sort of trying to get the gain and the contrast and all those things really right to be able to see into this darkness. You can see better in the camera than I can see with my eyes, but somehow I need to look with my eyes. Well, that's what I was saying, is that, we can drive around, it can be quiet, and I even said that we don't know if a leopard's going to chase an impala across the road, and we've had probably even more exciting than that. This whole convergence of 3 different major predators. Unfortunately, I think I shouldn't be here, because there are 3 vehicles here now. It's also all happened. In fact, there are 5 vehicles here. I'm going to have to sneak off, folks. Okay, Marco, I'm going to leave.
Check the quarantine still there.
The guys are saying they think that he might have cleared that tambuti and that gardenia quarantine.
No, I don't see him in there.
No, but we can see Djuma's got a better position now. He's actually sitting down on this bush fella. So we are. It's a very unusual circumstance, but I don't want to compound it. We're looking at one of the trackers of Djuma, that's Fanwa. He's a fantastic chap just underneath that leopard. But unfortunately, it's time to maybe go on. Because we cannot be party to too much pressure on the animals by providing, or rather by being part of too many vehicles there. And well, because it's sorry. From is just saying now that he can see quarantine up a tree. So I think the 2 leopards are safe. The dogs are still at Tambuti Dam. But now it's very important for me to explain it to you that we normally only allow 3 vehicles at a sighting, and by doing that, it gives animals the opportunity to engage in their normal behavior, that they are not threatened at all. And when there are 2 sightings like this, because suddenly with vehicles coming to the leopard, two of the vehicles that were on their way to the leopard sighting just happened to chance upon those wild dogs. Now it could have happened to us because we were coming down Whiffles or Cutline. If they had entered the road a couple of minutes earlier, we would have seen them, but fortunately, well, it is what it is, fortunate or unfortunate. Unfortunately, we didn't see them at first, but fortunately, we were still in the area. The fact that it was a separate sighting at first meant that we could go and see the wild dog, and it was just a wonderful thing. It was amazing timing that as we saw the dogs, they came past us and started running down the road towards where the leopard were, not even knowing that there was anything up ahead. There were 1 or 2 of them that were sensing the air, and they were sensing something going on, and it's possible they have either smelt the kill, they could have smelt dung, they could have smelt the hyenas, they could have even smelt the leopards for that matter. We know that dogs are incredible, or they have an incredible olfactory system. They can smell very well. They have a very good sense of smell. So, gosh. And then they ran down the road, and unfortunately we were blocked by vehicles, but I could see that the one dog suddenly saw Djuma, and he almost did a double take, and he jumped in the air and he barked the way wild dogs do. It's not the same as a domestic dog, but it's not dissimilar in that you can hear the harshness of it. And it attracted the attention of other dogs that came rallying around the first dog, and Djuma took off into that bush willow, and I'm glad that he did. Unfortunately though, that was just after, unfortunately for the hyena that is, when those dogs picked up the scent and they ran towards the Godinian and Tambuti, one hyena got the brunt of it because they concentrated on the one. The other one must have maybe run over the damn wall or something, but managed to get away. I noticed as that hyena was running towards us and yelping, I hope you could hear, well, I'm guessing you must have heard those sounds, not blood-curdling as much as the sounds of something dying, but certainly something that's getting its love bitten. And it had one of the dogs latched onto the back of it. Fortunately managed to get away and ran off with its tail between its legs. And here I think the hyena were thinking that they're the ones that are going to be the aggressors this evening, with these 2 cats that are subordinate to them, that are perhaps more nervous of them. And it's just a numbers game. Wild dogs are of all of these predators, we've seen 3 major predators in one spot. But of all of them, the wild dog is actually the smallest of the lot, but it's probably the boldest because they know how to count, and the numbers were in their favor. There were a number of dogs, and hyena is not going to try its luck against a small pack of wild dog. I just felt a raindrop. Lovely. Beautiful smell. There's also a beautiful color, and we're on Mvubu Road. I want to cross the dam wall and go up in quarantine and talk to you about something before the end of our sunset drive. We're not seeing pretty low cloud here that's likely to give us a little bit of a drizzle, but not yet. Please just wait a few minutes. We want to talk about Brian's mum's skull because I'm going on leave now and I wanted to wait till afterwards. That was exciting. Jeffrey in Texas. Hello, Jeffrey. If there were enough wild dog, would they be able to kill a hyena? Yes, they would. Even this number, 5 of them that were here, this small pack, even the 5 of them would be able to do so. In North Carolina, if the impala carcass fell out of the tree, what do I think would happen between the different animals? I think the leopard wouldn't do anything. I think the leopard would relinquish it to whoever wanted it. And they would stay in their tree until nobody was there anymore. And I think that the leopard would hope that at least the kill would fall out of the tree and the other predators underneath would get their little treat and they'd be off, and then the leopard can carry on with what they're doing. The leopard are not going to fight for whatever is left of it if it comes out of that tree. The hyena are not likely to come back, but look at what we've got. Apart from this beautiful sky that we're looking at post-sunset glow through. Hello, buffalo.
Here comes the rain.
Yeah, a few drops are starting to fall, and before it does, I'm going to go to quarantine, not too far away. Djuma waterhole camera. Grace wants to know, Grace, welcome to our drives from Texas, the Lone Star States. We went from the Tar Heel to the Lone Star. Grace wants to know if wild dogs are descendants, or domestic dogs are descended from wild dogs. No, Grace, they are not. And although wild dogs are of the canid family, they are not of the same genus as the true dogs or the canids, the wolves. And the wild dog belong to the genus Lycaon instead of the genus Canis. So they are cousins of domestic dogs, but they're not related. In fact, there are diseases and things that can affect wild dogs that can come in from domestic dog populations. And there are even vaccines, and unfortunately it was found out the hard way, but there are vaccines for domestic dogs that they thought they could inject into wild dogs to prevent them from picking up domestic dog diseases, especially because there is always going to be contact on the edges of reserves and things, especially with rural populations in other parts of Africa, and the cross-pollination, as it were, of diseases between domestic or feral domestic and the African hunting dog. And to try and help wild dogs, I suppose, in a way to try and make sure that their survival rate is better in places where they were coming into contact with domestic or feral dogs. They were given, I think it was a parvovirus vaccine, and it actually just killed them because it was a disease. It was a vaccine that was developed for the genus Canis specifically, and not for the genus Lycaon. Lycaon pictus, the painted wolf. Drizzling, drizzle, drizzle, drizzle. Hello Trent, great to hear from you. Trent's in Fiji. Trent wants to know if wild dog would attack people on foot. No, never heard of it. Maybe somebody will find an article somewhere, but I don't think so. I've spent so much time with wild dog on foot in many different countries, and especially at home. When I have wild dog at home, I specifically follow them on foot because it's easier, because they choose straight lines through the bush, and it's easier to follow them than to just bounce through the bush in a Land Rover, crashing through trees and things. And I've spent hours following wild dog on foot in Tanzania. I've spent time with wild dog in Manyaleti, here in the Sabi Sands, and I've never been threatened, never felt threatened. If anything, they're very wary of us, and they're things earlier. But the one thing that is important is that we're back at the spot where the Kahuma lions, back in February, mid-February, the Kahumas made a wildebeest kill right here. And I'm going to park in a way that allows me to put some light on the subject and maybe talk to you and show you something. And right here on the ground next to me, there's a patch of what looks like dry grass. And I decided that this would be the spot to bring the skull of that very strange wildebeest that we had been seeing over the few months of summer after watching her give birth to a calf who became known as Brian, because Brian was on camera. And sadly, the same pride of lion killed the calf, and then a couple of weeks later, actually, they killed the mom. But the reason why I've actually done this is so that I can show you it's quite a strange anomaly. Now we had a wildebeest skull on the vehicle this morning. It was a big bull from Arathusa, from the airstrip that other lions had killed. I want to show you this one now. Now I thought I'm going to hold it maybe here in the light because it's better. What do you think, Andrew? Rather here than in the darkness up there, because it's getting quite dark. But you can see how this horn had actually broken off at some earlier stage in her life. This is where the horn should be, and what's interesting is that the bone has actually rounded a little bit, where this horn must have been sitting and rubbing all the for quite a large proportion of her adult life. One of the most amazing things that I found about this particular wildebeest are these two very, very deep gashes in the horn. And I don't think that this happened, judging by the patina and judging by what I'm seeing, at maybe a very young age, maybe that somehow broke the horn loose from her skull. And over years, and over a very long time, there was virtually no connection between. You could see that there was some nerve connection and some blood vessels still connecting. Growth. There's some rather unusual growth on the horn, but the horn hung down the side of her face like that, and it kind of rattled around a little bit, and that has changed the shape and the configuration of the skull completely. What's interesting is here's a canine tooth, and that's probably one of the lion when she was killed. Let's try and move it there. Can you see that hole?
Yeah.
Another hole here. So this is probably a bite here, where between my two fingers, the two canines of the lion that bit her.
I'm just going to put this cover on. It's starting to...
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I forgot. But I just thought it appropriate that I would put it. I need to put some of my books away and get back in touch with final control with my earpiece. So excuse us while we just get busy a little bit. Books are getting wet. Books are not allowed to get wet. And camera. We're gonna put camera away too. To get things wet right now, so we're going to go back to camp. We'll try and do something from camp. I'm going to get in. When it was raining, so we'll see you. Well, drive with us until we get close, and I thought we might get the tail end of it, but I don't know how heavy it's going to be rain-wise. Oh, my hat. I don't think the rain is too strong. I mean, it's drizzling. I'm going to stay fairly close to quarantine. The spot. There's the spot good. We'll see if it gets a little bit heavy, but I'm just going to drive around quarantine now and have a look, see if there might be anything. I don't want to go too far. If the rain starts getting heavier, then we will have to race back to camp. But for now, if we're close by, we shall stay out. Just a drizzle for now. Christina, in Pittsburgh, do we have rabies? Yes, Christina, there has been quite a vaccination process. Funny enough, that kind of works with most of the predators in a lot of areas because of rabies. Rabies has been a real threat in wild predator populations. One or two victims of rabies, humans that actually managed to succumb to it. But fortunately, as I say, that was all sorted out pretty quickly. Ah, okay. Susan in Tennessee. I want you to know the geographic location of that altercation, that wonderful convergence of hyenas, leopards and wild dog. And would hyenas from the den, given that location, would the hyenas from the den come in and sort of help assist and give camp? I don't want to be caught out here if it does come down. It's starting to look quite heavy over Cheetah Cut Line and to the southeast. So we're going to head back towards camp. So maybe 400 meters, 400 yards. I usually use the same. Up north beyond the dam. So in total, about a kilometer, and a kilometer is less than a mile, maybe half a mile. Not quite half a mile. A mile is 1.6 kilometers. So half a mile would be about 800 meters. So it's a bit more than half a mile due north. Would they come and help? I think they would. I think if were to have given off a call to arms, as it were, other hyenas in the area. Of course, it would have to depend on the other hyenas being close by. Oh yeah, we're not getting any water on that lens. So far, not good. It's starting to get heavier now, and because it's getting a little bit heavier, I would rather be safe and be undercover for the last few minutes of drive. I wouldn't want us to push our luck. The dashboard is now wet, and although fortunately we're not getting any rain on the lens yet, and Andrew does have the fancy plastic cover over the camera, could suddenly become quite heavy, and it's going to be better. But we'll still take a few questions while I'm on my way back and until I get under cover. To do is we're gonna go undercover, but while we got to get through the gate and all, I want to have to hand you over back to final control, and we'll just have a brief break. So we're going to just briefly break away from me in a minute or so. Well, actually very, very soon, as I get past this Voyatela sign on the road. Beneath the cover in the carport, just in less than a couple of minutes. I mean, very, very soon. Beneath the cover in the carport, just in less than a couple of minutes. I mean, very, very soon. Brent in Florida wants to know what action would we do, what actions would we take if we came across wild dog as a human, came across wild dog on foot. I personally don't think there's any action you need to take. You could, if you feel threatened, and I very much doubt whether you would feel threatened, what you could do is you could act aggressive and they would run away, because after all we are humans. But in my experience, they would run away. They wouldn't attack you. They wouldn't. Okay, sorry, lights are too bright there. That one. Sorry, just trying to get this all right. It's not something we do very often. But Brent, no, there wouldn't be any danger, and generally the dogs would maintain a very safe distance. They would probably look at you. They would probably maybe even bark at you in their inimitable way, and they wouldn't really bother you much. If anything, they would take notice for a few seconds and turn away and trot away. I haven't ever experienced wild dog being aggressive, even on the hunt, even feeding pups. I've never approached a den on foot. I never will do that. It's always invading the space a little bit too. More of that. It's going to be very exciting to see what they can see, and also to recap that Peter Pretorius and Hayden Turner will be back here very soon. Well, they'll be back tomorrow, I think, and they'll be doing drives as well. So great that that's happening. It's all gearing up for if there are one or two more questions that can come in. I think we just had a fantastic afternoon this afternoon. It was started off fairly slow, and it was one of those wonderful times when being quite slow. It was so much full of opportunity and possibilities, and it's the kind of afternoon that when you take time to look at all sorts of little things, that sometimes things come out of the woodwork. Question from Grace in Dallas. Grace wants to know only because there was a small group of wild dog and they managed to corner one hyena, and with pac-men, we as humans do the same thing. Hooligans at soccer matches that choose one target and they'll all go for that target, but put one. They're vulnerable because they don't have that pack and that hysteria that goes with that pack mentality. Nothing to do with the size and the strength of the animals. They can count, and they know when they outnumber their opponents, and they know when they have a better chance of inflicting a wound or causing damage. And it's really all about competition. It's all about being in the same place at the same time briefly, but knowing that this is an animal that is living in the same area as you, but it's also eating the same food as you. And I suppose in that respect we are not alone as humans in that we eliminate our competition. Lion do, leopard do, hyena do, all the predators try and eliminate the competition. I think the fundamental difference is that we take it a little bit further than that. We not only eliminate our competition, we also eliminate our food's competition. So We turn a biodiverse ecosystem into a monoculture by taking out everything else that competes for whatever it is that we're trying to breed or grow. Thanks for the question, Grace. The other thing that was absolutely fantastic about this afternoon, before Leopard, yeah, she's been around for 11 years. She was seen as a cub. Her mother, Safari, was a leopard that was followed before Karula was even born. Karula quarantine, and at this age of going on 2.5 years old, firstly it's rather unusual that both of them are still in their natal territory, in the territory that their mother raised them, that they haven't ventured further away. For that in itself is unusual, but what makes it even more unusual and more special, what makes it so amazing, is for us to be able to still witness them interacting, even if we didn't. Unfortunately, because of the distance and things, we couldn't see them making eye contact or even maybe making body. And that brings us back to times when we used to see Mishu and Duna together, but I think they were a lot younger the last time we saw them together. So from that point it was unusual. When the wild dog came in. So that combination of everything that we've just seen this afternoon, I think we could be filming here for the next 10 years. We might not ever see anything like that again. Enters here and going out every day is the possibility that we're going to find something exciting like this, and we never know. We can drive around for hours and not see anything, and then all of a sudden there's just so much action, you just don't know where to point the camera or what to look at first. And I hope that's what's going to keep you coming back to our broadcast and to our drives, our sunrise and sunset drives every day, and as well as participate. I hope you've got a feeling for just a wonderful thing. So overall we've had a really amazing day. In total been a very wonderful day as far as really special animals are concerned, having seen the secretary bird this morning, which is also a rather unique opportunity. We haven't seen secretary birds before. And thank you as well to all the messages that are coming in. I hope I'm going to have a wonderful leave. I know I am. I'm going to see my folks. I'm also going to be with my mom on Mother's Day, and that's going to be very special for both of us. And, well, for the rest of the family. But it's been 3 years, so it's time. I went home to see the folks. Well, it's not my home, it's their home, because my home is the Timbabati. I'm going to be there too for a few days. I'm going to say hello to my Ellies. But love you lots. Goodbye from me, Mark, Andrew on camera, Nikki and Tara in final control. Love you lots.